Ready, set, go. Back in the can for another edition of the Lunatic Fringe podcast and a friendly new face on the other side of the screen. We're diving straight in. Who the fuck are you and what do you do?
Hey everyone, I'm my name's Meyer. I'm a newly licensed skydiver relative to everybody that's been on this podcast. So 3 years in the sport, really two, because in my first year I jacked it up, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
I'm
uh,
sure we will.
My home DZ though right now, I jump out of Western New York skydiving. There's also Skydiver Falls in the area. Those are the two, basically Western New York area, and more southern tiers Rochester skydivers. We all jump at all three, but it's a good gang out here. Me, I'm not full time yet. Did just get my coach rating, so I'm starting to dabble into that world, and which is pretty amazing. I mean, there's really no better feeling than getting to help somebody go down that path that you went
Sure.
down.
Yeah.
Everybody gets into this for their own reasons, but they're usually pretty unique.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So outside of skydiving though, like I'm a superintendent for like an international elevator company. It's called Schindler. So I manage techs and a big portfolio for the western part of the state. So a lot of running around everywhere, but that's how I fund my, degenerate activities of chucking myself out of planes.
Nice. That's the real world penance you have to pay to be able to play in skydiving.
You do, you gotta pay to play. You gotta pay to play.
You do.
In life. But outside of that, I did start my own business as an entrepreneur a couple years back. What I did is I started coaching veterans. I'm a veteran myself, so growing up, I grew up in Western New York. Went to high school, barely scathed by, did a lot of dumb things, was a varsity athlete, but a dichotomy at best, we'll put it that way.
All right.
Without diving into that too deep, but got my shit together and ended up going to a military college. It's called VMI, Virginia Military Institute. So had no freaking clue what I was going to do with my life, dude. Just was like, well, I got to make money. I don't know what I want to do. I guess I could be good at like this kind of shit, and I need structure. So I Googled military and college together because I told my dad I'd enlist. He was a SEAL in the Gulf War. I told him I'd enlist and do that. And he's like, fuck you will. You're fucking going to college, you fucking asshole. I worked my ass off to create you to undo, my mistakes. So get your ass in college. I'm like, okay, I can't argue that. What an awesome opportunity, to go to that. And ended up like getting into the ROTC shit. It's a senior military college, so they commission about half of their graduates every year into one of the 5 active duty branches.
Okay.
So you got Coast Guard, Air Force, Navy, Marines, Army. Now Space Force, if you want to be a space cadet, bro, flip around up there and I don't know, shoot bullets at the atmosphere.
All right.
But yeah, so I did that, ended up loving it, got a bio degree because you need it, and ended up commissioning as an officer in the Army. So I was an infantry officer, did that for 4 years and got out 1 week before COVID. Like no shit, 1 week before COVID started. I had my orders on, and it's funny how the universe works because had I just not gotten out at that point, right? 10 days later, the whole world fucking changed, man. And there was stop law. You couldn't get out of active duty at the time. Nobody knew what the hell was going on. Everybody was, doing their best. Right. So who knows what life would have been like, right?
Sure.
Had I not decided to get out, but, amazing experience, all that. And then, basically got into, the last 3 years, just everything was shut down. I was losing my mind. My life went from 100 to 0 because, being an infantry officer, we did a lot of fun stuff. I went around, did a lot of things. And I took my ass to a drop zone because I went skydiving once with an ex-girlfriend when I was like 19. I was like, dude, that was like, oh my God, I remember that. And man, the rest is history, dude. I did a tandem. 2 weeks later, I had an A license.
There was this sense when COVID hit, and I can only imagine if I hadn't been a jumper and a jump pilot at the time, there was a sense that it was all coming crashing down. And it was real doomsday there for a while. And I can imagine how truly attractive the opportunity to go huck yourself out of an airplane would be when, you're rolling the dice at whether or not it's fucking coming to an end. Fuck it. I
Yeah.
might as well I might as well
Yeah,
go
dude.
start jumping. Not to mention everybody's stir crazy and you're just sitting around going, well, what am I going to be, an alcoholic or a drug addict now? Because there's
Yeah,
nothing else to
exactly,
do,
man.
you know?
And that's what I was trying to avoid. That's why I told my mom, I'm like, Mom, listen, I could chuck myself out of planes or I could shoot up heroin. I don't know. You tell me. You make the
Right.
decision. Like, no, obviously not. But dude, you're right. And it really wasn't like there wasn't some bigger meaning behind me showing up at the drop zone, right? It was something to do that I had a feeling would get my blood flowing.
Sure.
But the community, dude, that is what instantly snagged me. I mean, the jump was amazing. Like I instantly knew I wanted to do it on my own. I was like, let me get this dude off my ass, dude. I want to see if I can do this, which is way harder to do than people realize. Let's be honest there. And everybody was just so fucking welcoming, dude. And
Yeah.
just open-minded, and just it was such a beautiful energy there. And I was like, I need to be around this more. I mean, what are you going to sit in your house and stare at a wall? I'm looking for a job. I just got out of the army. I'm like, holy shit.
Yep.
Mind.
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny the way you put it, because I felt the same way when I was starting out, because skydiving was it definitely made me nervous. I mean, I would be proper scared going to make those first few jumps, but I almost looked at it in hindsight, I definitely looked at it as though the jump was the price I had to pay to hang out with these fucking cool people.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I really want to hang out with these people. Fuck, I guess I'm going to have to jump. And
Yeah.
of course, then it became, oh shit, I'm one of those people come jump for, because they want to hang out with, and it became this wonderful thing. But for sure, it was the community that drew me in dramatically more than the jumping to start with, because the jumping scared the shit out of me.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can't. The jumping is defying your logical safety mechanisms,
Oh
and
yeah,
your body like just gets frustrated with you when you do that, because it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why? I'm already in free fall. Like, what's good? And then you pull a parachute, and it's like, oh.
yeah.
And
Well,
every time, it keeps doing that, and you're like, dude, chill. I got this. You've
Well,
been
you got a million years worth of fucking human beings progressing, telling you don't do this, and one asshole strapped to your back saying, "Let go of the door." you know.
probably cracking jokes at you too on the way up, like, man, I hope this opens.
Oh, of course, all the hideous jokes that, and I'm sure you probably felt the same way. If it weren't for those shitty jokes, I would have been twice as scared.
Yeah, no, TIs do a great, I don't know a TI that hates doing it.
Hmm.
I don't. Everybody, they say it's the most amazing. I'm not a TI, one day, but nobody has a negative thing to say, and sharing that gift with everybody. You just watch them. It's fun. Like we all get to, I've been in a wingsuit now, so I get to chill in back. I'm like, oh, cool. It's a neat perspective. I know we're stupid assholes with dresses flailing around the sky. I get it. But like, it's cool to sit in the back of the bus and watch that experience for people as they go out the door. It's really interesting.
Sure. Now, how did you get started in? Was there anything extreme sports wise prior to jumping? I mean, I know the Army throws some relatively crazy shit at you.
Yeah, I've always kind of been, chasing the dragon, as I like to call it, or just that next, yeah, this is a coin term, but most of my friends are still serving or veterans, and we all had very similar personalities that kind of drew us in that lifestyle. And you get a lot of jumpers who are veterans as well, first
Sure.
responders. That there's something to that thrill, that chase. I've always been after it. So I did a lot of dumb shit as a kid, I guess you could say, if you want to call that, if you
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
call it sports. But no, I was like a lacrosse player. You know, did track, and then the armies where it all picked up. I mean, intensity wise, like being an infantry, the infantry's generally known to be a pretty grueling path. And then, I went through ranger school there too. That was more intense than I cared for. um, and you get to do cool shit like that. We're rappelling out of helicopters in some areas and flying in the back of Chinooks and C-130s, and then if you're airborne, you jump out of them. But it's nowhere. It's not static line. No, fuck that noise, dude.
Sure.
So, it's, I guess it's just always been there. Now I'm finally feeding it,
Sure.
and
Well, I
you
mean,
know,
with the army, it's not even an intent to go feed something like that. It just is. It can be a very intense experience, and although it's not necessarily extreme, let's face
yeah,
it, it's fucking. It can be pretty intense, shooting guns and blowing shit up and climbing over stuff, and I mean, it's. There's a variety of different things that can really get your blood pumping that don't necessarily have to be extreme,
yeah, right.
and
It everybody has a different uh flavor,
sure.
so to speak, right?
Well, I've talked about not really. I don't know how I feel about the term extreme sports because obviously, for those of us that have been in skydiving for some time, I don't consider it extreme. I mean, the extreme version of skydiving is base jumping. Base jumping, I consider extreme, but I'm not a base jumper because I know a lot of base jumpers that'll be like, no, this is just a mellow jump off a 3,000 foot cliff. you
Yeah,
know so it really does boil down to perspective. That being said, and I've mentioned this before on the podcast, scuba diving is not considered an extreme sport, and I think it's so much more dangerous than skydiving.
I agree. First off, open water fucking petrifies me, bro. All
Yeah.
right, if I'm scared of clowns and open water.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's, those are my big fears there. And obviously, like, I think the concept that draws all of us in is like the overcoming of your fears.
Sure.
What better way to master that capability? Because that's a skill set than skydiving.
Sure.
And what better of a community to foster that growth and development of a mindset in somebody than the skydiving community?
Sure.
But you're right, base jumping, extreme sport. I think skydiving is very meditative.
Mm,
It has been for me. It's an outlet in that sense, the same way that I, would meditate or, practice mindfulness. You're very present. You're
sure.
extremely present.
Well, it's a way to obtain that without even trying. I mean, you have no choice but to live in the moment when something like that's going on, and for a lot of people it catches them off guard because that's not what they think of when they think skydiving. Oh, this is going to be intense, and it's going to be this and that and the other thing, and then after you sit down and you get to think about what you experienced, you realize nothing else was happening except that, and most people don't have that opportunity, and it's very eye-opening when you finally get there, and it's definitely something that you start to seek more and more as a jumper. Actually, one of the reasons that I took a break from skydiving many years after I had started was because I was in free fall, pissed off about something that happened on the ground, and I went, oh, it's time to take a break. Because if I'm not in this moment, then I need a reset. And it was a great idea.
We used to say, complacency kills. That was the
Sure.
saying, especially in the combat arms. Death was near and dear to anybody who served in that realm. If you're in long enough, you're going to know somebody that passes away, which is exactly the same thing in this sport. And that I basically I agree. I mean, you gotta keep yourself sharp to keep playing,
Sure.
and we love to push the boundaries. We get so consumed. It's so much passion. I think that's incredible that you had the ability to recognize that,
Mm,
because that's like a cue for me personally. I know that if I don't, I have to. Every skydive is a great skydive for me. That's how I like. I try to view it that way. Um, I won't let like a botch skydive, get in your head, because there's failure isn't real. There's only quitting, in
sure.
my opinion. you know, what people say is a failure is really just learning. You choose how you interpret what happened and what you're going to do next. We're completely in charge of that.
Sure. Well, and skydiving too, unless you're getting into the competitive side of things. So a skydive didn't go to plan. When I was learning how to skydive, the normal jump was you figured it out as you're climbing towards the door. You know, it was just zoo skydive after zoo skydive, because I started at a drop zone that wasn't particularly fun jumper friendly. So it would be a bunch of low time guys that would occasionally get to jump and had no fucking clue what we were doing. So you're just learning it as you go along. So there was no such thing as a bad skydive. It was, oh, that didn't fucking work, you know, but it was always funny. And if
Yeah,
nobody got hurt and everybody landed safe and got back to the drop zone and was manifesting for the next load, then that last load was a fucking success. You know, I mean,
couldn't agree more.
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's, I think that's still there. I think that mindset's still there for many. And I mean, it's a more positive than negative environment in general, in my opinion. So I think that's a more common.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. No, I mean, I to take up, especially for those that work in the sport, to take up a living where you're jumping 2 to 20 times in a day, you got to be a pretty optimistic person.
you're taking risks 2 to 20 times a day, man.
Yeah, man. You
you
know, I
know,
mean, you start to
uh,
do the math, you know, the more jumps you've got, of course, the more you're probably pushing the envelope. And honestly, if people aren't willing to push the envelope, then they're not going to be jumping in the first place. But they're certainly not going to be downsizing into small canopies or going to the
mhm.
wingsuiting and doing all these different disciplines. These are people that are pretty optimistic about what's coming, which is a really fun environment to be in.
Yeah, man. I like there's a saying called what you think about, you bring about.
Mm,
Uh, Man, do I believe that to the core. I'm a little woo woo. I'm pragmatic, but I'm a little woo woo.
sure, sure, absolutely.
um, I think a lot of people are who get into the sport. It's almost ritualistic for me at times, where it is so critical and integral to my life and how my trajectory and what brings me fulfillment.
Sure,
And like, now that I'm locked in and know, hey, this is going to be my life. Like you know, for however long I'm lucky enough to keep walking while flying around the earth,
sure.
I'm going to keep doing this.
Well, that's one of the huge benefits to skydiving is there's a lot of longevity in skydiving. You know, I
It's
mean, you're talking about being able to jump into your 70s and 80s. And I don't know too many sports out there that you can continue to go out and have that kind of fun that late in life. I had on
so,
a woman by the name of Alice Hicks. For anybody that hasn't heard the episode, Alice jumps out of Arizona and she's a snowbird with her husband. And I initially got her on the podcast because I saw this amazing picture of her with this huge smile on her face, with the helmet in her hair and gray hair coming out the side, and well-earned wrinkles over the years. And I shot her a message going, "That picture's fucking amazing. I got to have you on the podcast." And I
oh,
mean, she still teaches line dancing at Skydive Arizona and goes out and jumps. And everybody knows Alice. And Alice is a fucking badass. And Alice is a senior citizen, you know,
yeah,
still jumping her ass off.
it's truly like it's just I wish the world could see more of that. We're so good at highlighting all the bad stuff going on in the world, and there's enough of that.
Sure.
But like the amazing things like that, like talk about living your life to the fullest.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that's just embodying exactly what we're all going for, I think. And
Sure.
so much respect for our elders, so to speak, who
Yeah, yeah. Well, especially it's kind of
something.
ingrained in you in the skydiving sport because we're jumping with our elders. We're on the load with our elders. And the really cool thing about skydiving is the older people that are my age, some of my heroes in the sport are fucking younger than me. And that doesn't really happen in many other aspects of life. You know, there's not too many times that I'm looking at someone that's 15 years younger than me that I'm like, holy shit, this person's got their shit together.
Yeah, it's impressive. I mean,
Yeah,
everybody, I wish I got into it younger, so to speak, but like everything happens for a reason. I'm so grateful for my life and everything that's happened, and it's not all been rainbows and butterflies.
never
And
is.
but that's what's so beautiful about it, right? Like life is not just an endless happy streak. It's peaks and valleys. It's
Sure,
just trying to keep that trajectory a little positive, just
sure.
keep growing, learning. and living, baby.
Yeah.
LIV.
Now, when you dove into skydiving, how was the course for you? Did you find learning to be an easy thing? Was it a challenge?
Um, I guess it came relatively natural for me in the sense of understanding the movements and learning, but I credit a lot of that to my instructors. Um, my mentor was a guy named Mendanha. He was Brazilian. He had over 9,000 jumps, pro skydiver, well respected, well liked, a genuine dude. And he took me under his wing. He saw potential in me that I didn't see in myself. And, when I talked about that meditative state, one of the things he used to really do with me when we would get to about 10,000 feet, right? He would tap me on the shoulder and he'd look at me and he'd be like, hey, and he'd dap me up and hold my hand,
Yep.
be like, and put his other hand on it and be like,
Oh yeah.
just breathe. And then
Yep.
we would do 6 of those, and it's just right into the skydive. And it's like this miraculous flow into the exit, down the hill, into your dive flow, break off, and all the way down to the ground. And it's so freaking peaceful. It's such a dichotomy, but he was so good at teaching. And, I spent 4 hours in a tunnel with him, and he took me through AFF, continued to coach me, and we just, we ultimately ended up becoming business partners. And, unfortunately, he passed away in February 2022 on a tandem,
Mm,
skydive Houston. But, doing what he loves at
sure.
the end. And, he brought me into his dream and his company, which was called Skydive Republic. And he had a vision. He was a visionary. And I have a pretty extensive business background throughout. Being an officer, it is soft skills. You got
Sure.
to learn people. And then that was a natural transition to like operations management. And, I'm almost done with my MBA too. So it's kind of like when it comes to practicality and making money, that's my skill set. I understand people, I understand operations. And
Mm,
so we partnered together and really to make the skydiving industry more accessible to the public, safer and streamline operations,
mm,
basically. So that was the goal of the company. And, we want to take 20%, donate it to veterans and mental health nonprofits of, our profits each year. It's really about flushing money back into what we care about and then back into the business, because we want to make skydiving more accessible. Like it is such an amazing thing. Like, how could you not want to share this with
sure.
as many as possible? And how do we do that? We basically just started looking at all the problems.
Sure.
Okay, what are the problems? What an easy, we got massive Facebook groups. People are so open in this. They'll be like, oh, you want problems? And I got this. And then, we identified a few patterns, and that's where our focus was. So,
Nice.
uh,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, it's the nice thing about seeing new blood year after year come into the sport is they reinvigorate the community as a whole with this newfound passion. And I mean, you get some of the old salty dogs that are like, we knew all this shit. Yeah, it's cool, whatever. But it's the next generation coming up that gets those people that might be teetering on the idea of jumping, or they've made a jump and they're not sure if they want to continue to learn, or they're veterans that are just back from serving and they're looking for an outlet,
Yeah.
and it's this excitement that a new jumper can bring to it that somebody like me has a little bit more of a difficult time getting super excited about AFF level 3.
Yeah.
you know
Well, understandable.
but
But
it's a
for
great
someone
thing to
like me,
see.
it's like, wow, that's amazing. Like, I can't
Yes.
wait to be, to I hopefully become an AFFI one day. Like, again, what a gift.
Sure.
What a you get to share. But,
No, it really is absolutely incredible, and it's that exciting a sport and it can be that transformative. I mean, especially I've talked to a few people that do a lot of work with veterans groups and such, and a lot of people that will do different jumps for the cause for veterans.
Yeah.
And all of them are incredibly well received. And of course, there's a lot of veterans that are active skydivers, a lot of active duty military that are active skydivers, that bring their own angle to skydiving. Skydiving for a long time was kind of this dirtbag thing, and it was all wild and free. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely military, very regimented guys, but it's nice to see nowadays seem to be kind of a mix of the two worlds.
Yeah.
It's loose and carefree where it can be, and regimented and strict where it should be.
Yeah, dude, I agree. There's a counterculture aspect to skydiving.
Yeah,
But I think what you're finding with a lot of the military, and there's factions in the military where there is a big, um, the mindsets are very similar.
mm,
So how you see in skydiving, you'll end up seeing it, and again, it's a bit of a contradiction because of how regimented, and the skydivers love to party, man. When the sun sets, if we're not jumping, we're partying. And to be honest, there's a huge group of veterans that would thrive off this lifestyle. And really, my dream and what I want to do with skydiving, I don't necessarily know how, but I know that this is what it is for me. Is I want to use this outlet and reach as many veterans as humanly possible, to share it with them, to hopefully um, prevent them from turn into the drugs, turn into the alcohol, or turn into the gun to their head. You know what I mean?
sure.
And this helped me at a very dark time. And, I've lost a lot of friends to suicide who are serving or were. And I know that if this was as powerful for me and it pulled me out of um, just a horrible place, it can do that for any veteran.
Of course.
And guys have been through some shit, dude.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, we're finally living in a world where discussing mental health doesn't have the stigmas that it used to. And it used to be you'd never get a veteran, a fucking dude, to talk about his mental health. And now that's not the case anymore. I mean, when you have veterans doing everything from being very active skydivers to going through the clinical trials for psilocybin and all these different things that they do for mental health, regardless of what it is, it's all striving for the same thing. And I had a great conversation with Jason Moletsky, JMO, who said that he started skydiving because he was basically suicidal and was like, fuck it, I might as well. And discovered with jumping, there's so much more to do, so much more to live for. And it's an incredibly powerful tool that I've seen work over and over and over.
Dude, it's just like, it's so emotional for me, honestly, because you're so right. Like, I've taken one of my friends skydiving. Like, he was having a hard time. I'll leave his name out. A really good friend of mine. He was a ranger down in 175, the 75th, deployed, did things as he was charged to by our
Sure.
and struggled with it, because
Sure.
what human doesn't?
Sure.
And he just called me one day and he was just breaking down, man. He was just a fucking mess. And to your point, we were brought up in it, and we were college roommates, by the way. We were best friends all the way through that. Went into the military same time he enlisted, actually, and went that route at commission. So we're very close. And he that's very rare to get a call
Mm.
like that. So I was like, dude, fuck it. And I just drove down to Virginia, hit him up, and got him through the night and stuff. And I was like, dude, get your fucking shit, get in my car. We're not sitting in this fucking house. All right. We're
Mm.
not moving around. Okay. Grab your pants, get in the car. And I took him to our home drop zone and we chucked him out of fucking plane. And, he's still here today. I can
Yep.
tell you that. We're still very close. And I'll never forget his face, and just that, how powerful that was for him and what it did
Oh yeah.
to get out of that place he didn't need to be.
Sure, absolutely. Well, and skydiving can be incredible for that. Like anything, there's no such thing as a cure-all, um, but it definitely gives someone a glimpse of something better on the horizon, or fucking above the horizon.
Literally,
Uh,
you look beyond the horizon up there. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, and I mean the old argument always is you bring me somebody that's suicidal and I'll give them a great way to continue living while they're trying to figure out how to kill themselves. I
yeah, man.
mean, I
Oh,
always I always would think, if I was given a death sentence with a medical issue or something like that, that's what I'm going to take up base jumping, because fuck it, I'm going to go big, I'm going to
dude,
go hard, and
that is all right.
it's the same thing with someone that is potentially fighting with suicidal tendencies. All right, start jumping out of an airplane. First off, you're going to be amazed at how quickly your survival instincts kick in without you
Real quick.
even necessarily wanting them to. But next thing you know, you're going to have all this fun doing something that furthers the reason that you got into it in the first place, which is, all right, I'm pushing it, I'm doing something dangerous. And so it kind of quells that need to it's a way to step off the edge without committing completely, if that
Right?
makes
Yeah,
sense.
you're not fully committing, but you're at least getting that feeling,
Yeah.
and then you bring yourself back to life
Yeah,
and
man.
realize that it's a beautiful fucking thing, even at
Yeah.
its lowest moments.
Well, I,
Um,
I watched a documentary about people that had committed suicide jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge, and they actually interviewed a guy that survived off the Gate Bridge, and they asked him what he was thinking when he stepped off, and he said the very first thing I thought was, "I wish I was back on the bridge." Um, and he lived. But so you can imagine that a lot of those people probably think the exact same thing. Oh, fuck, what have I done? And there's no way to take it back. Now you jump out of an airplane and you get that oh fuck sensation, and then you get to go, oh wait, this is cool, and I get to do this again.
take my money, fuck it.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
let's go.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then the community soaks in, and then that sense of belonging in this very dysfunctional family. And we are an incredibly dysfunctional family that I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I really wouldn't.
I feel exactly the same. The chosen family has a special place
Sure.
in hearts. You chose this family, but like once you choose a family, they're family until you die, right? Like there's not a single person I wouldn't go to bat for or stop what I'm doing and prioritize if they came to me and need help. And I see it every day, from our whole community. And
Sure.
um, you're right. That was a big part of it. I mean, dude, when I got my license on my 32nd jump, I actually flared high on a student rig and reached as I came down instead of PLFing. Yep. And slipped, my left leg slipped, fell down, sat. It wasn't hard. It's on video. You can look it on like my Instagram page down there. Snapped it sideways, impinged it behind my leg, split my tibia in half and broke my fibula. Split my fibula in half and broke the bottom of my tibia off.
Mm,
Um,
sounds
ended
fun.
that. That was done. I was like, well,
Yep.
what do you think, guys? How quick will I be back? Paramedics just like staring at me like I'm fucking crazy, which
Yep.
we are.
Oh yeah. Well, I had a similar story. Funny enough, my 27th jump, I was down in Paris Valley for the first time I'd ever gone down to Paris Valley. And on the drive down there, I was talking about how I'd have to go rent gear and get all this stuff. And mind you, I'm 27 skydive, so I'm still flying a very big rental parachute. And one of the instructors who became a friend of mine was like, "Oh, don't worry about it. I've got a spare rig you can jump." Okay, cool. This is an instructor. So of course yeah, man. What's in it? Oh, it's really docile, not a problem. I think I was jumping as a student, or pardon me, as a newly licensed jumper. I was jumping a PD 210. This was what was called a Turbo Z165. It was half ZP, half F111. And I opened up with the brakes stowed, flying twice as fast as I'd ever gone before, realizing, of course, I've got to unstow the brakes. So I unstow the brakes and I'm shitting my pants. I've instantly from 3,000 feet, I am horrified that I now have to try and land this thing. And of course, I panic flared and then made the crucial mistake of letting up on the flare and just drilled myself into the ground.
Fuck,
Broke,
man.
Yeah, broke my leg, split the bone lengthwise below my knee. But unlike you, I was not smart enough to sit there. I went and manifested for the next load,
Oh,
trying
that's
to,
awesome.
oh yeah, trying to walk it off like I was cool.
My
Got,
God.
oh yeah, got on the plane, and as we're going up, my leg starts swelling up so badly that I can't bend my knee anymore. But the smart decision, of course, would be ride the plane down. Nah. Now, mind you, I'm still on the same fucking canopy that I just broke my leg on. So I jumped again, of course. This time I nailed the landing, thankfully. But my buddy's like, "Come on, let's go for another load." And I'm like, "Nope,
With
legs
a
broke."
broken leg,
Yeah.
nailed the landing, 27th jump, no shits given. No wonder you're where you are now, if that's
Well,
how you start, man.
oh, I was a fucking idiot.
You're on a warpath.
I was an I was an idiot. But a very very similar start. You know, you start with a break, but the cool thing that something like that gives you
Mhm.
in a sport like skydiving is if you're met with adversity so early on in the sport, you have to answer the question really early on in the sport. My first cutaway was 2 jumps after that. And so you have to ask yourself, all right, I've broken something. Is this something I really want to do? Okay, fuck, I had a cutaway. Is this something I really wanted to do? And a guy by the name of Mike Skeffington, who is OG skydiver, gave me a great piece of wisdom back then because I was pretty shook up after the cutaway. He's like, you at less than 50 jumps have answered the question that people with thousands of jumps haven't answered. And I'm like, what's that? He's all, you can pull the handles, and you know you can pull the handles. He's like, I think at the time he had thousands of jumps, and I don't believe he had a cutaway. He said, I've never had to do what you've already done. You've already answered the question, man. Go be a fucking skydiver. And it was
Dude,
great advice.
that's amazing. And see, that's exactly what we were talking about. The professionals, right? The mentors, these people that have been in it for a fucking while, have been in it for a while and they're still here,
Sure.
rather. They got wisdom and they're just like, just dude, you're getting just so much wisdom just handed to you on a silver platter.
Oh
Nobody
yeah.
else. Like you can't get that in other sports, you know. I mean, that's the kind of people that make this sport so amazing, in my
Oh
opinion.
yeah. Well, and they love giving that advice because they love seeing someone benefit from their mistakes or from their epiphanies, you know. It's nice to see. That's one of the reasons that the podcast has been so much fun because I get to talk to, you know, these rock stars and unknowns alike and get really cool perspectives on where they're coming from in the sport and what they're doing with the sport and you get some really eye-opening answers from people and I've never stopped learning. You know, I mean, I still am talking to people that have been doing this much longer than I have, going, no shit. Okay, this is amazing. You know, and
Yeah,
then you get to learn about the history of the sport as well, and figure out, you know, how people really put their asses on the line for the sport to get to the point where it is.
crazy. The
Yeah.
pioneers, man, are fearless.
Oh yeah.
We're fearless humans.
Oh yeah.
Uh, you know,
And that they learned to do it 45 to 60 seconds at a time. You know, pretty
yeah.
amazing.
I mean, dude, I learned all the way through backflying in a tunnel.
Yeah.
That wasn't accessible. These people had to every jump. You got like 1 minute of practice. Like, don't fuck it up. Figure it
Yeah.
out. You know, I have a lot of respect. I really do
Well,
for that.
and I mean, I love the modern skydiving being what it is and the resources that modern jumpers have. And there's a reason that it's gone next level. And the reason why, as a fun jumper, I'm average at best nowadays, because nowadays the skill level has just been pushed so far forward, which is fucking amazing to see. It means that I've always got something to shoot for and I've always got something to learn.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you'll never stop learning in this sport. I've accepted that. I've realized that, and I agree about, you know, early on trauma. You know, embrace it. You know, make your decision. You know, it'll force you to make your decision. There is this for you, or is it time to go? There's literally nothing wrong with walking away from this sport or base jumping or anything like that.
No.
Life happens, and everybody understands that. Um, but like I learned quick after that, man. I'll tell you
Yeah.
what. I went, did flight 101, 102, started getting canopy coaching, was like, I'm not gonna fucking do that again.
Yep.
If I have any say in it, which you do to a degree, right? There's always shit happens, but um, it's funny how everything works out
Sure.
because, I don't think I would have progressed, or, been as cognizant of the risk and the criticality of your decision making, on a jump had I not learned from the best teacher out there, which is pain.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, pain is an incredible motivator. It really is, and obviously skydiving is a sport where you want to try and learn by other people's mistakes. But I nowadays, I've been doing it so long, I can acutely feel someone else's pain because chances are I've fucked myself up the same way at some point. So the earlier on in your career you learn through other people's mistakes, the better off you are. Because
Yeah.
trust me.
Don't be like me. I'm a hard learner. Okay. Listen to these people who know what they're talking
Oh
about.
yeah. Well, all
We're all
that
type A and stubborn,
all
so
that
like, all
shit that all that shit that didn't hurt 28 years ago hurts now.
right.
Trust me.
I mean, the doctors were just like, they saved it. Thank God. It was bad. They were like talking about amputating my foot before they put me on. I'm staring at this guy. I had like a fucking 2-hour ambulance ride, and they were like, "Oh, we should have sent Mercy flight. Sorry." And I'm like, "Yeah, got whatever, man. Just
Yep. Yep.
are we there yet?" And yeah, they told me all kinds of nasty shit, like I wouldn't be able to run ever again, this and that, and it was just like, no. I was like, I appreciate and respect where you're coming from, but I promise you, I'm gonna be back in the air again.
Yep.
It's gonna happen. I will run again, and everything that I set my mind to from that moment on, I'm on trajectory, and am running again, exercising again. I'm in the best shape I've been in years, and um, it's just fucking crazy to think about that the human body is this resilient.
Oh yeah.
But what I attribute a lot of my recovery to be honest, was the training.
Sure.
So I had 10 years under my belt of intense training and being in incredible shape because that was my job. And it just became habit. So when I got out, I mean, I needed an outlet, working out, it becomes habitual once you do it for a while, but
Oh
that
yeah.
shit saved my body. Like my recovery was quicker. My ligaments held up. They're like, you may not have your foot had you been living a sedentary lifestyle and
Sure.
had an accident. And that was an eye-opening moment for me,
Sure.
um, and gave me a lot of appreciation for this little meat bag we
Oh
chuck.
yeah, man. Well, and one of the things that I learned through more injuries and more trips to the emergency room than I'd like to remember is that, especially in the U.S., doctors are almost always going to give you worst possible case scenario and leave out the happy, sunshiny, silver lining shit because they're scared they're going to get fucking sued.
The
Um,
outline, you
so
know.
it's very difficult to get a doctor that's going to give you an honest assessment. And I'm not saying don't listen to your doctor. Of course, listen to your doctor. I'm not saying push it. Definitely don't push it because I have. But I'm saying that take their worst case scenario and then work your ass off as hard as you can to prove them wrong.
Yeah, exactly. That's where my mind went, man. I
Yeah.
was like, I respect it, and it's in no way no, fuck you. You don't know what you're talking about. Obviously, they
Yep.
know what they put my foot back together.
Yep.
I was like, wow, thank you. It's a little bionic, but it's back.
Sure.
And luckily, I had a very renowned doctor who had a lot of experience operating on skydivers, I guess. So I don't know how it worked, but they must have got the word. He's like, oh yes, I volunteer to construct this young man's ankle. I've done that 113 times. Like,
Yep. Well,
yeah.
the doctor that put my neck back together, I was the third one he'd done cervical surgery on with, blown out discs, So by the time he got to me, he's all, oh, another fucking skydiver. Okay, cool.
They're like, we're just cash cows, these people.
Yeah. They
All,
see us coming from a mile away, which is, it's good. It's nice to know. And like I said, you definitely listen to your doctor. I had a shoulder replacement or shoulder repair done, and they told me I needed to wait 3 months before I jumped. I waited 3 weeks, and then I had surgery a year later. Go
Hey, well, it's
figure.
still 3, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's just stupidity. That surgery was basically my fault.
Uh,
Um,
luck,
you know, so
you know.
there's pushing it, and then there's pushing it. So you obviously want to try and do the best you can to recover, but you listen to your body too.
Yeah, exactly. We just had a girl who's been wingsuiting with us in our little group chat. We got wingsuit group chat. Um, and she just got confirmation of having a torn ACL. I think she has a spiral fracture. It's a lot. Like there's a lot of things going on. Long recovery season's over, right?
Sure.
It's just like an outpouring of like, hey, we're here for you. This is what we've done who have been through it. This is what works, listen to the right people, because you just get overwhelmed with advice when it happens from like every angle. It's always contradicting. You're like, dude, I want to jump again. This is too much.
Yep.
I just need to recover. And that's when I kind of cut out the white noise and honed in and started PT. The moment I could weight bear, I listened to pain as my guide, not a
Yep.
timeline.
Yep.
Dude, drink a lot of water, I guess. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, no, I mean every time we'd have somebody that would get hurt, I'd always give the same advice. Listen to the doctor. It's probably not going to be as long as they say, but don't push it. I'm like, you're welcome to come to the drop zone, hobble out here on your crutches and sit in the chair and eat your pain pills. And I'm not going to give you a beer when you're on them, but I'm going to leave one within reach. Um,
Yeah.
and you can sit and listen to us talk shit and fuck with you because you can't jump, and of course at the end of the day you're going to feel better about it.
Yeah.
But before you know it, you're going to be jumping again. I
Yeah.
mean, I remember the injuries that I've had over the 29 years in the sport, but I don't remember any of the time off because it was such a small amount of time, really, in such a big, life of the sport for me. So trust me,
Got
the
our whole lives, right?
yeah,
We got
man.
there's
And
no
literally with skydiving, if you stay healthy, you have your whole life for it.
That's the goal, man. I mean, maybe it's selfish that the only reason I even give a shit is I want my body to last as
Yeah.
long as my brain lasts, so that I can keep doing this. Because um, it's really boring when you can't jump.
so so looking down the road, especially seeing as how you're kind of just getting your start in the sport, what are some goals down the road for you?
Yeah, I got some lofty ones, I guess. Maybe they're more dreams than goals. Dreams become goals when they're attainable,
Hmm.
right, and within reach. Um, but I want to really build the company that Jones and I started into. I want to help revolutionize the industry, and we have some amazing ideas that we're working. Um, we're pre-seed. We're working on trying to collect funding to finalize it, but we got an app, and that's where I'll leave it at.
Okay.
Um, that is going to in our opinion, have a major impact in a positive way
Cool.
on problems that we're
Cool.
facing. So I have a dream to help improve this and grow this sport personally. Exactly what I mentioned, man. I wanna get good enough at this where I can use it as an outlet to share with veterans. I want to be able to build that into something as a part of my business. Obviously that's a nonprofit aspect of it. And really, dude, to be honest, I'm going to my base course in Snake River in September. I'll just
Nice.
say it. I know I don't care if it's bad juju or whatever. If you say it beforehand, it's going to be a blast. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm scared and I'm excited at the same time, but I do have a long-term goal of wingsuit base jumping. I know, everybody laugh and just throw the jokes. I got it.
Nah, man.
But,
My
it's,
opinion of that is really simple. If that's something you want to do, fucking absolutely go for it. Just go for it in the safest possible way.
that's exactly the approach I want to take, man.
I
I'm in
gotta
no, I'm in
I
no rush.
gotta I mean I've been friends with some of the best and brightest, and some of them are still going strong and some of them aren't with us anymore, but that's also kind of how shit goes. It's if it's something somebody wants to do, as long as you're smart and as safe as you possibly can be, then fucking do it, man.
This is where I'm starting.
Yeah, man. Well,
I'm
that's the
starting
thing,
right.
right? Is it's better than all right, I'm just gonna go huck something and see how it works out. You know, you're not buying a used bass rig off of a website and giving it a shot. So you're going about it the right way.
I end up on the list, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. So I have really good mentors. And I got into movement groups. Basically, jump 120. I was in a tracking suit, and from then on, all the way up through a wingsuit, it's just I want to do everything like anybody, and I'd like to coach and instruct. That's my long term goal. I want to full time work in this industry, but
Nice.
um, that I'd like to do that. What's after that, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I want to have a positive impact on the
Nice.
industry. That's
Nice.
the if nothing else, let's uh let's improve this sport.
Yeah, man. So you mentioned you got your coaching ticket. So somebody's listening to this podcast, they want to come make a coach jump with you, or they want to privately dig into you and find out what the fuck this app is and what the business is about. How do they
Yeah.
find you on social media? Where are you jumping at? How do they get a hold of Connor Meyer?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram. That's my main like social media platform. I use that. So you can just message me. My handle's flagship mindset, all one word. So hit me up on there, and happy to chat with anybody. And it's already been amazing, just the connections and the networking that's occurring. I hate social media, I really do,
Mm,
but it's here to stay,
yep.
and it's necessary evil from a
Yep.
professional perspective.
Oh yeah.
uh, and to be honest, we wouldn't be talking if it
No.
wasn't for it either, right? So there's some good to it. But other than that, that's the only social amount. I'm not on freaking TikTok. uh
Yeah.
it I know everybody is. I'm avoiding it because I have successfully not downloaded it to this point, right? And who needs
Sure.
another social media platform?
Sure.
But yeah, flagship mindset. Look me up. I'll
Awesome.
be available.
Connor, man, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're busy doing the move and stuff, and you're in a new place and all that. So it's always great when I get somebody to take time out of their busy schedule to sit down and talk shit with me.
Yeah, thank you, Dean. I really appreciate you inviting me on, man. It's been amazing.
Absolutely, man. You take care.
Thanks.
See ya.